He's best known, of course, for the civil rights marches and demonstrations he organized in D.C. and across the South. But Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott lived important parts of their lives right here in Boston, which is one of many reasons why the city's forthcoming King Memorial, the Embrace, so clearly fits here. The nonprofit behind the statue, King Boston, is also launching other programs to, in their words, inspire visitors to reflect on the values of racial and economic justice they both espoused, including an artist in residency program to help raise up and amplify local artists of color. Joined now by a member of the program's new 2021 class, Willie Sanchez, better known as DJ Chubby Chub from Jammin' 94.5, and King Boston's executive director, Imari Paris Jeffries. Willie, Imari, it's good to have you here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Excited to be here. Imari, I'm really glad to have you. Many people don't know the King's connection to Boston. Can you briefly describe what they did here?
Well, their love story started in Boston. And so, Boston is the fourth largest college town in the country. And so the Kings were, like many college students in the 50s. And so they met here, went to church here, and really built a movement in Boston.
They did. So explain to us, everybody knows about the Embrace, and everybody is counting the minutes till it happens. This Artist in Residence program, tell us about it. What is it?
Well, we're in an interesting moment in time. We are in a time where vaccine inequity is an issue. We're in a moment in the midst of the trial to convict the person who killed George Floyd. And so there's a racial reckoning happening in the country. And so not only are memorials and monuments valuable, but music, arts, and space is important. And so in this moment where there's a racial reckoning across the country, there's also a conversation, a reckoning, if you will, in Boston. So having our first woman Black mayor, understanding that the arts and spaces for the arts, particularly for Black and brown people, are important. And so there was no better way for us to understand the importance of racial equity in the arts than to have a artist in residence program.
So, Willie, what did it mean to you to be accepted into this thing?
I mean, it's been a major honor. I can't believe that I was asked to be a part of something like this in what's going on this day and age. I'm truly honored. It means a lot because it also opens a lot for the youth. So
what does this allow you to do? What does it allow you to do that you couldn't do without this Artist in Residence program?
Well, I mean, I think it gives me more to bring out my presence and what I believe and what I do as far as music goes, and gives people, the younger youth, a reason to believe in themselves and everything that's going on right now in the world.
Hey, Willie, I want to be clear. You're in a car. You're not driving a car. Is that correct?
No, I'm in the car.
Okay, I just want to be clear. So, Imari, why was Willie chosen in this select group to begin with? Why him?
Well, one, because DJ Chubby Chub is a national treasure. And I think, the other night on Saturday Night Live, there was in the monologue, it was mentioned that Boston is still one of the racist places in the world, right? And that was part of this monologue. This happened this Saturday. And so what people don't know is Boston is 25% Black. It is 51% of color, and that we have national treasures, national artists that originate from our city. And so it's important that when we think about who represents Boston, someone like DJ Chubby Chub is an exemplar. And it's important in this moment of equity to raise up our artists and to make sure that there are spaces and places and folks who have been stewards of the arts are here and alive. And when Mrs. King came here, and the April 27th is her birthday, Mrs. King is an artist, and so it was important to us on the birth month of Mrs. King to announce our artist in residence.
By the way, that was Daniel Kaluuya, if you haven't seen it, who made that comment in his monologue during the. Could you, Imari, describe the other programs? Again, this artist in residence thing is new, but I think a lot of people, when they hear King Boston, think that King Boston is purely the Embrace in this. Imari, you have, explain to us, an education program, a center. What's in the future?
Well, we think that Boston is probably the only city in the country that has a chance to emerge post-pandemic as the city on the hill for racial equity. And so King Boston is made up of a holy trinity of campaigns. The memorial, I think people know about the Embrace Memorial. It'll be unleashed in October of 2022. The King Center for Economic Justice, which is a gallery research center where we will continue to interrogate racism through research. And then lastly, Embrace Ideas. And so it is an activation of the arts and humanities into anti-racist discourse. And so those three things, I think, are part of this larger movement of Boston organizations that will help Boston emerge as the top city in the country, despite what Daniel Kaluuya says.
Willie, when you hear about these other programs that are part of King Boston, not just the Artist in Residence program that you are part of, what does it mean to you? What does it say to you about what it can do for this community?
We all have a chance. We all have a chance to believe in what we do.
And, one of the things that starting with you, Imari, that I have to say has been, you mentioned this racial reckoning. I am embarrassed to admit how little I actually know, and I didn't realize this at the beginning of all this last year, about African American history and how little is taught. We learned when Donald Trump was scheduled to have a rally in Tulsa, and it was supposed to be on Juneteenth. We learned about the Greenwood Massacre, one of the worst of African Americans in our history. The other day on my radio show, which you've been on, Imari, with Marjorie Egan, we had Don Lemon from CNN, who wrote a book about racism in this country and talked about the German Coast slave uprising in the 1800s in Louisiana, which I hadn't heard about. So how central is education about our whole history, not just the sanitized history in this country? How central is that to King Boston's program?
I think it's entirely central. The idea of putting a monument to memorialize Dr. and Mrs. King, as well as 35 other civil rights leaders in Boston Common, is huge. This is America's oldest park, and it belongs to not only the folks who live around the park, but all of us. And that it's situated on ancestral land of Massachusetts and Nipmuc and Wampanoag peoples. And so in this moment of racial reckoning, we also have to understand our indigenous brothers and sisters who are a part of our history, and they've largely been erased. And so it's an opportunity to integrate indigenous folks, Black folks, Latino, Latinx folks, and all of us into Boston's rich history.
Willie, a minute ago, Imari paid you a great compliment, and everything I've read about you reflects exactly what he said about your national standing. But do you see this Artist in Residence program as something where you're even better at what it is that you have mastered when that's over than how you entered?
I definitely see that happening. I definitely look forward to bigger ventures and also branding of the state of the art. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely gonna be able to be saying this was a blessing for me, and to be able to comprehend with everything that's going on, being able to stand firm on what I believe in and all the music and help others. Because I'm already at a point where I've already accomplished so much that I just want to be able to help others.
Willie, I love that attitude. We need a lot more of that. Willie, congratulations to you. Good to meet you. Imari, it's great to see you again. Good luck with all things King Boston to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you much.